Hey there, Yuris here, and welcome to Community Life. Here we talk with amazing humans from the community world about their life journeys and learn from each other. And today we have a conversation with Maria Soyka, a community enthusiast who loves circle singing and Latin dancing and is passionate about supporting people, enjoying nature, and having fun. So, hello, Maria.
Hello, Yuri. Thank you for that introduction. That was very generous.
I hope it fits. I hope it fits because I was thinking a lot, but okay, here we are. So, what do you love the most about circle singing?
Mm. What do I love the most about circle singing? So I discovered this about maybe mm, 9 months ago or so through this Gaia Music Collective that I'm involved in New York City. And basically, it is so interesting. So it comes from Bobby McFerrin's lineage, and the way it's conducted is like an improvised choir. So the conductor has to be able to listen to what the song that they want to make is, and then tell the people a portion of the circle in front of them to make that song sound, and then loop it, and then also have vision of like how that sounds and how the other parts of the circle fit into it. So the reason that I admire this kind of art form is really because I think that it takes a lot of active listening, and every single person who's contributing to this has the power to access like a new part of themselves. So like the conductor is on their own growth journey and their own musicality journey. So the conductor has a way of like leading the group, conducting the community in a way that is personal because it's their voice, but it's also like a little less personal because no one has to share their deepest secrets or whatever. And you can just feel really a part of something. So the first time I experienced this, I was just like, this is it. This is very important. And then it's also accessible because there is like techniques and ways to learn it. So it's not like only one person in the whole world can do it. And that's how sometimes art forms might take that shape.
It feels like it's a really hard thing for a conductor to do this because you have to have like this 360 listening skill and like to understand like how it works. But also you told about different parts of the circle. So tell me more how it works. So yeah.
Yeah. So the journey that I've taken to do this more and more is, like I said, I started with there's a facilitator who I really admire in New York City, and but I can't always go to New York all the time. So I actually just had a lot of enthusiasm about this and started telling like a lot of people about this until one day I found a friend of a friend who I grew up with, and basically he also trained with that New York City facilitator, and he trained under Bobby McFerrin. So he knew how to lead it. So he was like, why don't we start it locally? And so
Mm.
he totally pushed that thing along. I was like, when are we doing it? Where are we doing it? How are we doing it? Who's coming? And so before we knew it, we had this local group. And so basically that gave me the chance to practice more often and grow as a facilitator. And so I have like so far to go. I mean, I'm totally a beginner, and that's okay because I have like these really supportive facilitators on my side who want to help me get there. And so, anyway, recently, yeah, I co conducted my first song, and it was really exciting, but it's also like it totally puts you in the moment, like bravery switch on. And then, so, all right, so you have these people in front of you, and they're like waiting for the direction. So your body language has to be so spot on to tell them what to do. And then, and then you have to hear that and hear like and that's like the motor of the song. So that's what keeps it going. And then you have to assign the next part. So if it's like the percussion, and then the next part, depending on how many people are there, which is maybe like, I don't know, the backup vocals or like whatever. And then it's really this tricky thing of like hearing it enough to enjoy it and be in the moment, but then also um like just keep it going. Like, oh, that doesn't sound good. Switch it out. And then it like totally removes your ego because you're like, oh, well, I thought I really liked that part. I thought that was really genius of me. Throw it away.
Sounds like a little bit of playing a piano, because I'm currently trying to learn, and I can do something with my right hand. I can do the left hand, but when there are both hands, that's where the challenge begins.
Yeah.
What is the difference between conducting or and co-conducting and being a part of a circle?
Well, in the circle, you just get to do what you're told. So I would say the conducting's like being a leader at work, and then the being a part of the circle is being like an individual contributor, not to make like a work analogy, but I think sometimes when you're in the circle, you can like just be nurtured, honestly, and you can just feel like a hug, like you're being told what to do, and then it sounds pretty good or not, and it'll end soon.
And as a conductor, you have to be this person who hugs everyone, yeah?
Only vibrationally with your voice.
Got it. Got it. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Tell me about your parents. Who are they?
So I'm probably unique in that I have three, and let me explain. So we'll start with my mom. So my mom, her and my story, like she started out as a single mom. When she was pregnant, she broke up with her boyfriend and she had me on her own. And so it was super hard for us, honestly, in the first few years. But then she met my adopted father. So they met when I was 4. They got
Mm.
married when I was 6. And then he legally adopted me when I was 8. And so that's like a very serious commitment to make to a kid. And so I'd say like he's just a really amazing guy. Like he's had his own business for a consulting business, organizing people's data for like 40 years. And a big lesson he's had for me is like, I'm always worthy of asking for help. And it's not okay to just give up because you
Mm.
don't know. And you have to always get creative in how you ask for help. So, like, it always showed up. Whether it was like in classes or if there's a work thing I don't know how to solve. And um and anyway, so then back to my mom, she at the height of her career was like a director of admission, so she can definitely relate to me for work stuff, and she's really always pushing me to get the most out of this life. She's definitely a kind of person that won't let me, I would never be allowed to be passive. Like, and just let life float on by. Like, it's definitely in the DNA to just do everything you can for yourself to have a great life. That is like the biggest thing. So just do whatever it takes. And then my birth father, the way they met, they were friends for like over a decade in New York, and basically, he was he'd passed a couple of years ago, but he was a professional piano player,
Mm.
and so he was like the piano player of the neighborhood spots, and could like conduct a whole room of people, just the kind of experience where you felt connected to your fellow human and like really a part of something. And he had a way of like elevating the smallest voices in the crowd who like were maybe the most shy, but then also
Mm.
giving like the most eager singers like a place to shine, like they also belonged. Um, and he could just take a room to another place. It was really spectacular. So, yeah, I always grew up like going to see him play piano a few times a year in New York since I was young. So, like, imagine a 6-year-old in a bar of people.
Was he the one who told you how to play piano?
I mean, my mom got me piano lessons. It didn't really stick. Like, I took piano lessons for a long time. I have a piano. I've always had a piano, no matter where I lived. Yeah, as a grown up, but I just do not have the patience to practice. And so, like, a big emphasis that my mom has made to me over the years is that my voice can be my instrument, and that is just as worthy, and it's very easy to carry.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, it's always with you. At least if everyone is healthy and happy and stuff, like, because if you have some illness, like, yeah, it's hard to talk sometimes. But yeah, I totally get it.
Wait,
That piano, it's a little bigger, just a little.
yeah, but you play piano?
I have an interesting story because initially my wife played piano and she was playing it like for 5 years or something like that. And she was like playing like really hard classical pieces and stuff. And she was like really good. But I didn't hear that. So it was before, long before we met. But at some point she told like, I'd like to remember how to play piano. I'm like, yeah, sure. Here it is. Here is a piano. But at the end of the day, it's me who is learning every day to play a little bit of piano. So I always had it as a dream because I was like, oh my God, it sounds so amazing. And like these people, I don't know how do they do this with this their fingers and anyway. But yeah, I'm currently on my, I would say, very, very beginners level. But I have this application that tells me like where to click, how to use all these things, chords and stuff. And I'm like, well, okay, it can work that way, because before it was so hard to learn piano because you have to go through books, you have to have a teacher, etc. But now it's like an application. It tracks you, it listens to you, it tells you if you are like doing something wrong. Amazing. That's what I need. Just 5, 10 minutes practice a day. And who knows? Maybe one day I can do a little bit of solo concert. So, but
Is there
yeah,
any song that you've been working on?
it's mostly some random songs that application proposes me to play, but it's mostly like some pop songs and stuff. But there is one that I really want to learn, and I have notes for this. It's Mido by Alexander Desplat. And the fun thing that I found this song. It was in the soundtrack to Twilight. Yes, Twilight movie. So and it was a soundtrack for this. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, currently sometimes we are sitting with my wife and I'm like, okay, here are the notes. I have no idea how to read them. You know how to read them, so teach me. So basically, that's how we're spending some time of the weekend recently. And yeah, I can play like 30 seconds of this melody already. So it's rather nice,
That's
I would
great.
say.
Good for you.
Yeah, but
That's
if you want to continue your piano journey, I can share an app with you. So we'll
okay.
not
Yes,
will not do any advertisement, but yeah,
sounds good.
I can share it. And it feels like it's an amazing combo you had from your parents, like knowing that you are worthy and that you cannot be passive, you have to be proactive, but also understanding that you can always ask for help and that you must ask for help. It's something that I got struggling with for so long time to understand that I can really ask for help. So how did it feel for you to did you know it from the very very early age that you can ask for help, or was there a moment when you like when you switched from not asking to asking?
Mm. So yeah, when it switched. Yeah, and and it's so specific, but I do have the moment. So in fifth grade, my parents and I moved from, this is so silly. They moved from one town to another town, like 20 minutes away from each other. Who does
Yeah.
that? But okay. So it was a new school, even though it was 20 minutes away from each other. Okay. So anyway, it was fifth grade. I was 10 years old. And oh my gosh, there was just this teacher, and she was such a hard teacher. Like, I have a college degree. I swear to you, I have never had an academic year so difficult as when I was in fifth grade. And like she was just so serious about test preparation. And like the town I lived in before was just a small little town. And this was like, I guess, a more serious, I don't know, town about their
Mm.
testing or whatever. So it was really hard. She was just like a taskmaster, very like micromanaging, very like serious teacher. And so I was so stressed out. Like 10-year-old me was like having stomach aches before I went to school each day. Like I was so stressed. Like I couldn't handle like feeling the stress of like an executive at 10 years old going to fifth grade. So anyway, my dad was like, that's I don't think this is normal. Like, why is she so stressed? This is like, it's just fifth grade. And so he actually reached out to her and was like, Maria's really stressed out. Like, she's really overwhelmed by your class. And I was like, you did what? I was mortified. And then the teacher was asking me, like, I heard you're concerned. What's going on? And I'm like, how do you know that? Like, that's supposed to be my secret. And I just was astounded that he would do that. And so I was really, really mad at first. But then after we'd like talked about it and a few months passed, I could see that maybe he could have gone about it differently. And then he did in later years. But like the message was like, that's not okay for you just to feel like you're unwell going to school, and you're deserving of a safe environment where you don't feel like so stressed to go to fifth grade. And so um in later years, the way that played out was like if I had a math class or something that was hard for me, for example, like he would help me get like a tutor, or just like always help me kind of bridge that gap so that I could ask for help. And it just got a lot more smooth as life went on. So now at work, it's like, oh, is there anyone at work who would know how to do that, who would be willing to help you? Like it's a lot like smoother now. But
Yeah.
yeah, fifth grade.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like it's something that many people out there are struggling with, and but having the skill, yeah, it's like totally life-changing experience, I would say. And I'm curious, what do you love the most about having three parents and families with all the grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and a brother?
Yeah, that yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just that it's like not only triple the influence, but then triple the families. So, like, mm, uh, Ken, my adopted father, like with his whole family, we've gone to the Jersey Shore, like the beach in New Jersey, each year for as long as I've known him. And so I have a lot of cousins from there, and I'm the youngest cousin there. And I think the reason that that matters is like I've been impressionable when I was younger. And so that's really good when you have cousins who are like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years older than you, who are like already going to college, already getting jobs, like already doing that very scary grown up thing. And then by the time it's my turn, it's like, no problem. Just follow their lead. I mean, I'm totally oversimplifying it, but just that idea of seeing people who have the same grandparents as you go through life, hopefully with fewer challenges, that was really helpful to me. And yeah, and then just cousins. Like I have a half brother who lives in Ireland. So there's just more witnesses to more parts of yourself, I think.
More photos, more family gatherings, more fun, hopefully. Yeah. So, what was the craziest thing you've ever asked some of your cousins about?
Mm, that's interesting. Maybe there's only one thing coming to mind right now, so I guess this is what I have to say. It's like when I was younger, before I had a really good understanding of like dating and like how I would experience the world, I think I asked my cousin, like, do you believe in marriage? Like, as if he was pressured to get married. And I like, ugh, I just find, I like, think that's so cringe that I even asked him because now like I've seen him take his time meeting a really beautiful woman, and maybe they'll get married, maybe they won't. It doesn't really matter. It's like the journey of himself toward that. And yeah, like just the expectation that someone should have to do something like that, I think is just very cringe. So yeah, that's how I'd answer that.
So it sounds like it's better to keep his answer silent because you never know what might happen next. But the fun thing that I remember the thing that my mother told me that you have to you have to like go to marriage or something like that, not before like 27 years old or 28, or not before 30 or something like that, because you have to work on stuff, you have to like get some money, etc., and then you can. And the fun thing that we got married with my wife when I was 21. So I didn't listen. I have no, I like whatever, keep saying. So it's not like, something that I was like creating a plan. Okay, check. Okay, I'm ready. It's just happened. So I feel like it's always this part of when yeah, you just have feelings, you're just meeting a soulmate, and at some point you like see that, yeah, maybe it's something that I really miss in this life. So yeah, I feel like it's totally personal experience, but
Wait, you got married when you were 21? What was the context?
now we just wanted, we just like, yeah, we just want to be together. Let's do it. We met in the university, and we like dated for, I'd say, 2 years or something like that, and then like, yeah, let's get married. Okay, let's do it. So it was pretty fast decision, and we didn't ask anyone. Um, Definitely, we had to tell our parents and stuff, but we didn't ask for their permission. We just decided, like, we are doing okay, whatever, and we've done that. And the funny thing that my kid was born like a year and a half later. So once again, we did not overthink it. So it's the most beautiful part. And currently, my kid is like 13 years old, and I'm like, oh my god, I have this friend. Not always a friend. Sometimes it's like a fiercest enemy, especially when we're talking about online games. But yeah, overall, I feel like that everything has happened for a reason, and I'm so happy I didn't ask anyone, back then. Because if I started to
Yeah.
ask, I was like, yeah, I can't even imagine what could happen. But yeah.
There's okay, I recently went to the singer-songwriter show, and one of the performers, she wrote the most beautiful song, and it was about how she asked her parents,
Hmm.
who in her perception of her parents, they were the most different people from each other, and she asked her mom, like, why did you choose each other? Like, how did that happen? And she said that it's a decision to love someone.
Hmm.
And so it sounds like from what you're telling me that you were like feeling this height of emotions and like connection and things when you were 21, but then also it sounds like you're also still together, and it sounds like you're also playing piano together, and it sounds like you've made a lot of decisions based off of
Yeah,
that. So
exactly. It's always that way, and I feel like it's an extremely important part to, not just make some kind of a decision on your peak of emotions, but just being in this moment in this life forever. Because otherwise, I know that, like, I'm not judging for sure, but I know some pairs that are staying for the kids, or like staying for a mortgage or whatever. But like, you are making a decision to live with a person you don't like just because of something. Like, why do you do this? Yeah, once again, no judging. Everyone has their own way. But for me, it's just impossible. If I don't like something, like, how can I do this? How can I fight with myself? Yeah, for sure, I don't like cleaning my apartment, but yeah, I have to do this. But I'm not. I'm not talking about the specific chore. So yeah, it's a very deep topic, and I feel like we can talk about it forever. But I'm still curious. What is the difference for you between thrilling and non-thrilling days?
oh, between thrilling and non-thrilling days.
Yeah.
Oh, now that is a good question. Okay. Hmm. Wow. I just like so many beautiful thoughts have come to my mind like a waterfall. Okay. The non-thrilling days are very important because then they make you value the thrilling days. So, okay. So, like, an example of a Ooh, an example of the medium, like the average of the two, would be something like a really good hike and maybe like a trip to a brewery and I don't know, like a good dinner or like a movie or something like that. Like that's a very dreamy day. I used to live in Colorado. That's like star-studded day. So I would say that's like an average between a thrilling and non-thrilling day because there's like definitely a thrill and excitement in it, but then it's like regulated also. But then there are other versions of thrilling days that, oh my gosh, like there's just so many activities to be done. Like maybe going to, hmm, like meeting new people, going out to like whether it's an event or something like this. Like, I'll give you an example of a thrilling day. Recently, my best friend was in town and she went with me to this actually like this community meetup in New York City. And that was so interesting because she is a nurse who lives in Iowa. And so
Hmm.
that's a very different environment than going to like a community manager meetup in New York City. And so it was so great because I got her outside perspective on community work. It was so interesting. And she had so many perspectives that like just the people I talk to don't have. And so then from there we went to the the Plaza Hotel where Eloise, there's a book about it. And we just had like the most lovely, beautiful cocktails together. We walked around Central Park a little bit. And then from there, we went to see my friend who was having her singer songwriter show.
Hmm.
And the music was so beautiful. I could have cried like a bucket of tears by the end of that show because it was all these women singing about just the most loving moments of this life.
Hmm.
And it just totally invited me into their hearts, like really, really beautiful. And then what's crazy is we were leaving the concert, going to get the train back to my place. And then I checked the train schedule, and the train schedule said that we were going to miss the train by like 5 minutes, and we would have had to wait there for like an hour, which would have been terrible. So my uncle owns a bar downtown where my birth father's ashes are and in an urn. And
Wow.
I was like, we should go there for a Guinness before this is all over. And so we go there. You'll never believe it. My cousin, who lives in London, is randomly there. And so is my uncle. And like it was exactly where we belonged. And I'm telling you, I felt so blessed. Like it felt like, maybe my, guiding angels were helping me a bit, but it was so amazing. And that was exactly where I needed to be. So I think a thrilling day is almost guided beyond your own control. And you're just following the clues of where you should be. And then you belong everywhere. And every occasion, every circumstance was meant for you. And a non thrilling day allows for rest and calm for you to be able to do thrilling days. And that's really how I see it.
Yeah,
The
and I feel
pursuit of
like
the
I
thrill.
feel like I feel like after the thrilling day, you definitely have a few of non-thrilling days because you have just to rest with all the thrill that you've had. And I'm curious, have you ever had a day where you didn't care about what time is it?
Yes, that's the best. The day when I didn't care about what time it is. Most Sundays I'll just do that, like to on my own. I've heard them called art dates actually,
Hmm.
but
Okay.
basically where you spend the day on your own and you just go for a hike or go for a walk or go into the coffee shop if it seems inviting or go for lunch or just journal or just read. So I think those days when I have nowhere to be, those are quite nice. But then sometimes I think having somewhere to be and knowing what time it is kind of keeps your feet on the ground. So I don't know if it's, I think it's okay for both.
Yeah, it definitely. I something that I learned that. There are no such things as good and bad. Yeah, it's like really questionable thing. But overall, something that might be good for you may be bad for someone, and vice versa. So it's always like depends. It always depends of who thinks about what. Um, and I still, when you asked the previous answer the previous question, you told the word waterfall. So it reminded me to ask you, how did you feel when you jumped off a waterfall?
Oh, wow. What a specific, yes, that's a very important point in my trajectory. So, all right. A couple years ago, I traveled to visit my cousin who lives in Colombia. And so, leading up to it was his birthday, leading up to the weekend trip for his birthday, he was like, Maria, you can only come if you're going to jump off the waterfall. So for days in advance, I'm like in this new country, speaking all this Spanish, learning all these new things. And I'm just like in the back of my mind, like envisioning myself how I'm going to jump off this waterfall, like really mentally preparing myself, like going through the acts of it, because this is so not something I would do normally. So, okay. So it's such a journey. It's like this 6 hour bus ride where you look off the out the window and you just think you're gonna die because the end of the road is like right there. There's just a hill downward. Okay, we get past the bus ride. There's a lot of bugs. I'm like really allergic to bug bites. Like there's all these things to overcome. And then okay, so then we go to this waterfall that he had been to before, and all his friends are just like so much better adjusted than I am. And so they're just like running off to it and just jumping off of it like nothing. And so I'm like, really, I'm knowing that I have to do this because this is a level of courage that I'm committed to having. But oh my gosh, I'm so afraid. And so it got to the point where I was sitting at the place ready to jump off. But then my cousin said, wait, so and so, take a picture, take a video. So then I had to wait for her to get her camera, which totally kills the momentum you have of when you're about to jump off a waterfall. So then, all right, so finally it's recording. So this is like the part that isn't on the internet. Like, so there's a good 3 minutes of me just sitting there feeling afraid. And then finally, okay, it's time to go. So I jump off and it's exhilarating. And my other cousin's wife says, Maria, look where you are. You're in the rainforest. Like you're in South America. Like this is you are really living. And I just took in the water and I took in the environment and it was exhilarating. It was so amazing. And so we all hung out there and I felt so proud of myself. And they were all like, I really didn't think you were going to do it. And I was like, ha, I am brave. And so, but now you have to climb up and get out, which is through a wet, what is the word? Moldy, not moldy, like mossy,
Mhm.
wet, wooden and rope ladder.
Wow.
So then, oh my gosh, I was so afraid. So like my cousin's friend is spotting me from above, and then my cousin's spotting me behind me, and it was so trepidatious. It was so scary. It was so dangerous. And so it's like step by step by step. So I climbed back up, and I made it. And I'm like so proud of myself. I feel like I overcame this huge, huge monument. And then the thing is, Yuri, I got too comfortable. So then I was like, well, I just jumped off this thing. So before, maybe when I was walking around this waterfall, I was like, duh, duh, like sneaking. And then
Yeah.
now I'm like just walking around like it's a regular street because I'm too comfortable. You got to be careful for that. And so then I was just trying to wipe my hands off and I slipped. I
Mm.
slipped and I fell. And so my cousin's friend who saw me, he thought for sure that I broke my arm because it really hurt. So I
Wow.
was like I had like scratches and bruises like all over me. And my
Wow.
one elbow was really hurt and like totally had the wind knocked out of me. All right, you didn't even know what you were signing up for the story. So it just there's more. So then now I'm injured and now I'm in a what now I'm in a rainforest and I'm injured in like a farm town where there's like no civilization. So then my cousin's well, it's his wife now, but his girlfriend, she like adopts me. She becomes like my babysitter because they're like, "Oh, we're going to find another waterfall." But I'll
And
take
you will
but
jump
she's like
on from another.
and I was like, "There's no way I'm doing that." So she takes me, she brings me, and like we're gonna go find a band-aid. That's what needs to happen. So because I'm just like bleeding, and so okay, so now we have to go through this hike where it's like the Wizard of Oz. Like there are cows there, like cows with horns, and so I'm like, well, we can't go around them. And she's like, it's the only way forward. So I'm like, okay, well, if I don't get killed from this injury, like maybe it'll be from this cow. So we get past the cow and then we go to the town in the first, or like we just go by there where there's houses. And so the first house that exists, we just ask the people there if they can help us. And her Spanish is way better than mine. So they were trying to give us like they kept saying petroleo and we thought that meant gasoline, but that means Vaseline. So she's like, no, I don't think that she needs petroleum. Anyway, so we got some band-aids. We found another convenience store that like fixed me all up, and that day proceeded to have a lot of dancing and cervezas to lighten the mood because you can't take yourself too seriously when you jump off a waterfall. For the record, my arm was not broken, it bowed. Thank you to the powers of chiropractic care for a resilient structure. Yeah.
I feel like you should have had some cervezas before jumping from a waterfall because then I feel like it would totally speed up the video, so it won't be 3 minutes, but it would be like 3 minutes of you like jumping and back, coming back and jumping again and coming back and like but yeah, I feel like it's pretty much a journey, like from going from the city to Columbia rainforest and like surviving. I don't know, were there angry cows or just like usual cows?
It was just regular cows, but it was like
Ah,
the
okay.
male that has the horns, so that
So
extra
the,
freaked me
but
out.
at least they were not angry, because you never know
Oh
what,
no.
what cows has on their mind. Yeah, nice story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I'm curious, do you want to jump from another waterfall somewhere in the foreseen future?
Hmm. I would. It would just have to be in the right scenario and I would be more cautious. I think that caution is okay. The thing I struggle with in this life is like when like where safety continues but like courage begins, and like there's this overlap here, and I think it's very difficult because you can like stay safe, but then if you take risks, you can more things can be safe. So yeah, it's a fine line. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out.
Yeah, just by testing and trying, that's the only way. What is the difference between a friend who brings out the best parts and the one who helps you feel at peace?
Hmm. Friend who brings out the best parts versus feeling at peace. I think that's related to the same thing I just said, like the difference between safety versus um, what did I say? Safety versus bravery and courage. So, like a friend who's bringing out your best parts is a friend who is helping you be brave and courageous, versus a friend who helps you have peace. I think that's your comfort zone. And I think that could also hinder you, in my opinion.
It might not be a relevant question just after hearing the whole story about the waterfall. Still,
Mhm.
how do you feel about the comfort zone?
I think it's meant to be consistently expanded and tried. and pressure tested. And as soon as you get too comfortable in yours, it's time to leave.
How do you know that you are too comfortable?
It makes me think of like if it's circle singing or even having a good sail, honestly, at work, like there's, or like being in a room of people that you've brought together. To me, there's this feeling like there's there's something at stake and something that really matters, so much more to gain. And you just have to believe that there's so much more to gain. And you're like kind of risking it and you're almost like willing to take the risk. And in those moments, I just really trust that there's like a presence there and that it's not all up to me and that it's up to like the other people in the room or the other part of the exchange or like I just really do believe there's like a spiritual presence in those moments that sometimes can bring all of us in this shared experience like to the next level. And I think that the comfort zone stops pursuing that.
You know, when you told the words "It's time to leave," you reminded me of a movie called Chocolate with Juliette Binoche and Johnny Depp. Have you seen this kind of movie? I guess so. May well, no spoilers. Just check it out. I think that you might like it. What does dancing mean for you?
It is the pursuit of the groove. So I've been really lucky in this life to have a couple of really impactful instructors. So when I lived in Denver, I was very into the Latin dance community there. And I was super lucky to have an instructor who, instead of training me on choreography, like 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, and like just where your feet go, the way I was trained was about studying the music and the musicality and the history of the music. And there's a lot of uh, lore and there's a lot of like very sacred history in those rhythms. And so for me, like my preference is Latin dance. And so in those rhythms, like people have survived the world's most difficult human circumstances imaginable. And so if you are able to really, well, let's put it this way, if a dancer is really able to train their ear and their body to listen to those rhythms and like move in a way that like they're in connection with their own breath, that our feet to the ground, our connection with the partner if relevant, and to the rhythms, then this whole portal opens up that is just like beyond. And it's so much yeah, it's just like access to another kind of art form and connection to spirit.
Have you had this feeling?
Yes, but it is consistently a work in progress. I think when I told you about that fifth grade thing earlier, there maybe in my history is a bit of this like hold your breath, be on your best behavior, follow all the rules kind of thing that I took on as a kid. And I think that being an adult is a lot of unlearning that and being able to breathe into those moments that and accept like I'm exactly at the level that I need to be. I'm exactly in the right life path. I don't need to be more advanced and I don't need to be any different than my story has been, except here right now. And it connects to everything. It's like dance is a microcosm of everything, in my opinion. But yeah, so the point is like being able to manage my own breathing helps create that access to that like the groove that sometimes people call it like the pocket.
How do you deal with stress?
So I will bring myself a few things. I'll go to nature. Sometimes I'll just talk to the river. And then I'll go on a hike, like be amongst the trees. I will go to community acupuncture, which I really like because it's affordable and you're like napping with your neighbors, like they treat you all at one time, or a chiropractic adjustment, or a workout class. I guess all of those things have to do with being in my body and being in the moment and moving my body and not just um, succumbing to stress and angst.
How do you find a balance between being and doing?
That is quite difficult for me, Yuri. I definitely prefer the doing. And the being, I think, is probably one of my lessons to learn, like when it comes to, or let's put it this way, like I think it's one of my consistent lessons that I'm always in. So, like, relevant to like breathing with dancing, or I think that's why nature can be really helpful because then you can like be and do all at once. So, or like collecting my thoughts in the morning of like what I'm going to do and how I want to be. So, yeah, it's a difficult balance. I definitely prefer the doing.
What is one thing that you do from time to time that reminds you of someone?
I think most things I do remind me of someone. I'm just like a highly, well, when I have friends who are high integrity, I'm a highly impressionable person. So like someone will tell me to, I have a friend who told me to drink water with the lemon in it every morning, and now I do that every single day. um, there are many examples of that, but let's just stick to that on the like self-care thing.
I have a question from one of the previous guests. What was a miracle in the mundane for you lately?
A miracle in the mundane. Well, the other day I was feeling kind of upset, and so I brought myself to hang out by the river, and I just laid there and I tried to take it all in and just see what I could feel or see what came up for me. And what did was, um, like, literally, I was looking up. The sky is blue. My feet are on the ground. As I lay my head here, I hear the river's sound.
Hmm.
And so then I just started looping that and repeating that. And I was like, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe it's not even um, deeper than that until I went to my circle singing activity later that night. And I basically taught the group a song about that. And it just felt really right. And that kind of inspiration came from just sitting by a river. So I was able to share it with more people.
Do you believe in magic?
Definitely.
Okay, nice.
The only thing I'm really sure of.
Welcome to the magic team. Uh, you know, I really wish to have the sky's limit to our conversation, but time is a limit. So let's jump to the rapid fire questions. So, dance or sing?
Dance,
Mountain or river?
river,
What are your favorite color and song?
color, magenta. The song is a song called Sabras, and it's from Herencia de Aquí.
If you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
Patience.
Yeah, it sounds like a superpower. Yeah, I can agree with that. Who do you learn from? Name just one person.
Oh, I should just say the first person who came to mind. A friend named Brooklyn.
Name two people whom I should definitely reach out to and have this conversation with.
My best friend and co-lead and colleague, her name is Lauren, and Lauren Endovino. And you know who else would be good to have this conversation with is Zach Hotta. Um, I'm co-leading a CMX Connect New York City event with him.
Ask it forward. It's like pay it forward, but with questions. So ask a question a future guest will have to answer.
What's one thing that you're really good at that no one knows that you're really good at?
Is there one question that I definitely should have asked you, but didn't?
No, I feel pretty seen.
I still have many questions to ask, so at some point, who knows, we can have a volume two. But yeah, I had this feeling when we met at Between Two Water Coolers and had some conversations on LinkedIn and stuff. I had a feeling that you're a very bright, happy, shiny person. And I was like, yeah, it's so nice. I really want to get to know Maria better. So thank you so much for allowing me to get to know, I'd say just a small part of you, but still very valuable. So thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you. It was fun to hear more about your story too, and more
Yeah.
later.
And yeah, see you in the community world.